I was pretty desperate for a job. I had made the mistake of getting a philosophy degree instead of something actually useful, and that didn't exactly guarantee a good position. I was living back with my parents, who I could tell wanted me to get my own place. We lived in a small town in the Rust Belt of the US, where only factory jobs were available. College me probably would have fainted at the thought of working in an industrial setting, but I had loans to pay off. I was looking online for positions when I saw the ad. It had a picture of a smiling cartoon cow and the words, "Old Wilson Dairy," printed above it. Below, it said they were hiring. I decided to click on it. I goggled in shock when I saw the job description. It offered $75 an hour for an entry-level job. Even better, the position was for a supervisor, so I wouldn't have to risk my life using heavy machinery. I applied for the position and got an automatic response, telling me to come in for an interview. I arrived at the factory. It was a huge, gray, concrete, windowless structure a few miles out of town. The twin smokestacks on the roof were belching smog into the otherwise clear sky. There was a massive sign above the door, with that same smiling cow logo. A man was waiting for me at the door. He was a balding, slightly chubby guy in his mid-40s. He looked normal enough, but something about him gave me the creeps. "Are you here for the job?" he asked me. "Yes, sir," I responded a little nervously. "Come with me." He took me past the empty reception area to his office, a small drab room with a simple desk and chair. The interview was pretty basic. Even though I didn't have any real work experience or skills that would contribute to this job, he didn't seem to mind. He explained what I would be doing in this job, and it didn't sound like much. Just oversee the machines. Whoever would pay $75 an hour for that is clearly stupid. I wasn't going to tell him that though. He gave me a small tour of the factory, so I could see if I wanted to work there or not. The factory was really big. There were sections for making ice cream, bottling milk, and turning milk into cheese. All of these were then packaged and sent away by massive trucks. We passed a red door. "That's where the cows live," he told me. "You aren't to go in there. It's not a part of your job." "Ever?" I asked. "You can never go in there," he responded, "unless you have my say-so." I was creeped out a little, but I knew the way some of these factory farms treated their animals. I guess he didn't want me to see that. Finally, when the tour ended, he told me I got the job. He said I could start on Monday. I was ecstatic, as now I could finally move out and get my own place. I was still a little confused as to why someone would pay such a high salary for such little work, but I wasn't one to question it. He said the job had only 2 easy rules. "I already mentioned the first one. Don't go into the cow pens unless I asked you to." I nodded. This was going to be easy. "The second rule," he began, "is that you can't tell anyone you work here. You know, for tax reasons." That one was a lot weirder. I didn't know that having no employees got you a tax break, but I really didn't want to lose this job. On Monday, I walked onto the factory floor. Everything seemed to be running fine. Even if something broke, I wouldn't have a clue about how to fix it. Eventually, I found a small employee area where 3 other people were sitting, chatting or looking at their phones. They all looked up at me when I arrived. "You the one that replaced Will?" one of them asked. "Replaced?" I asked, a little confused. "Nobody works here forever, only for a few months. Then they hire someone new." "Why?" I asked. "I don't know, I don't really care though, as long as I get paid." Work, if you can call it that, went smoothly. Employees got a discount on all old Wilson dairy products, and I was addicted to them. They tasted just like any other milk or cheese, but I got an inexplicably great feeling while eating them. Everyone else here is too. The job had a few hiccups though. Once, I was walking by the door to the cow pens when I heard a groan. It was so loud it shook the foundation of the building. I immediately ran to the manager. "Oh, they do that sometimes," he said nonchalantly. "Nothing to worry about." I don't know what made that noise, but it sure didn't sound like a cow. After a few weeks, it was the second to last day of the month, and we were having a little party for Johnny, who was the guy who had been there the longest. He seemed kind of sad. "I'm going to miss getting $150K a year for nothing, but I guess it's my time to go." I thought about when I would have to leave this job. I didn't really want to either. The pay and employee discounts were too good. After this, I really thought about all the weird things that happened. Why did they cycle employees every month? Why wasn't I allowed to talk about my job? And what the hell was making that noise? I really didn't know what to do. At work the next day, I saw the manager talking to Johnny. He then took him to the cow pens. What were they doing there? I noticed there was a pipe leading into the room, where usually milk was pumped in. It had a small access hatch that I could barely squeeze through. I arrived at a clear section of the pipe. I peeked through and saw the cow pens. There weren't any cows or pens, just a massive pit with all sorts of pipes leading into it. And at the edge of the pit, I saw my manager who was finishing tying up Johnny. Wait, why was he tying him up? Johnny was trying to scream, but he was muffled by the gag in his mouth. The pipe had a small hole in it on the top that I could hear them through. Then, I heard it again. That groaning noise. It was so loud the pipe started rattling. It was coming from the pit. What the hell was in there? I could hear the manager talking to Johnny. "Sorry I have to do this. You seem like a good kid. We have to stay on top somehow." Then he picked up Johnny and tossed him into the pit. I heard some horrible squelching noise, accompanied by the sound of crunching bone. Another groan rumbled from the pit, as the pipes that led into it suddenly filled with milk. The horrible sound of advanced pumping machinery filled the room, as more and more milk was sucked from whatever was in the pit. The manager seemed very pleased. There was a small pipe that branched out from a large one that led to a tap. The manager used it to get a glass of milk. He drank another and another. Whatever this thing was, the milk it produced was much better than the normal stuff. So lost was I in thought and horror that I didn't notice it until it was upon me. The wave of milk hit me like a car. I was flung back, to my surprise. I hastily began feeling the roof of the pipe, hoping to find the access hatch. I found it and quickly tried to pull myself out of the pipe. I eventually managed to make it out. Just before I got hit by the wave, I saw the manager looking directly at me. I didn't waste time. I ran straight to my car in the parking lot and drove off as fast as I could. I saw the manager bursting through the entrance to the factory. I didn't stop driving until I arrived at the police station. I knew they wouldn't believe me if I said there was some sort of monster at a dairy farm. So I just said I saw someone getting murdered there. When we arrived, the entire place was burned to the ground. They sent a drone down to investigate the pit. It didn't find any monster, but it did find a lot of pipes that looked like they had been latched to skin, along with the heaps and heaps of human bones. I hadn't tasted milk or any dairy products since, even though I know it's probably just from normal cows. Every time I look at them, I remember Johnny, the manager, and whatever horrible monstrosity was inside that pit. The police never found any evidence of it, but I know that it was there, hiding at the bottom of the old Wilson Dairy.